Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach. Hello and welcome back, Nurse Coach family. It is Laura and Shelby here, and we are coming in hot with some New Year nurse coaching predictions. This is where Laura and I are going to pretend like we have crystal balls and we can see into the forecast here. Not totally wild guesses, actually very, very informed predictions on what the new year's 2025 and beyond will bring. I'm excited. We are recording this and we were looking at the date when it's going to be published, and there's like a high chance that I'm either very close to delivering my baby or have had my baby. So like, it's interesting recording so far in the future, knowing that I could be like in a hospital right now. That would just be to me. That would be so wild. So anyway, but I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this. This is like one of the conversations Laura and I have in our Marco Polo chats of like, what do you think is going to happen here? What do you think comes next? And this is the conversation we have in the background a lot.
Yeah, and I'm pretty openly intuitive, and so some of it's kind of just like a feeling that I have. Some of it is evidence-based. Some of it is just by us having the opportunity to be in a seat where we just have a pulse with so many human beings at different stages of nurse coaching. You know, it's not like we're just a certification company. We're only working with students. We're no longer just a mentorship company, only working with nurse entrepreneurs. We're now working with nurses deciding, with nurses in organizations, with nurses in private practice. And we have lots of people who've been graduated for 4 or 5 years, and we have a pulse on what they're doing. So if anything, super educated guesses, really exciting. And I also want to speak it into existence with all of you guys listening here. And so I think by us even making these predictions and you listening, and if you can put your energy towards these predictions, I think part of it's also creating and not just predicting.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, let's just like kick it off here with a bang, because this first one is genuinely something I have never seen in real life so much. I've talked to so many nurse coaches that are hired within organizations these days that have created their own position before even knowing what nurse coaching was.
Yeah.
That are like on staff for corporations outside of healthcare, that are on staff within hospitals, who have taken nurse coaching into the hospitals for new grad residencies or to prevent burnout. Like, I cannot overstate that this was not a thing when you and I got certified. Wasn't on the radar. It was a hope. It was a wish. And here we are seeing it in real life. Like
happening
later. Yeah.
Yeah. It's happening. And the conversations that graduates are having with CNOs and CEOs and the decision makers, they're going better. They're feeling more prepared. There's some evidence. We have some case studies. There's a group of nurse coaches actively doing this, who are willing to get on a phone call with you to share their data, to let you borrow their belief and borrow their experience to help you have these conversations. And so I don't know that in 2025, how many organizations will have nurse coaches on staff, but I don't know if it's going to be a 10% increase, a 20% increase, or a 500% increase, but it is increasing and it is quickening. And because nurse coaches save hospitals money, period. Yeah. That is why. That's the reason.
Yeah. And there's like an actual study out there that how they do that. Nurse coaches specifically saving hospital organizations millions of dollars. So it's not like a figment of like, we know it in our soul, we save hospitals money. Like, there's actual proof that it
and we need more. We need more evidence.
100%. We have a few of our mentees that are like in the trenches with their own hospital system now, and I've never seen it go so smooth. I've coached a lot of people through a lot of red tape for an extended period of time, like back in 2021. It was just such a slog and an uphill battle, and the progress that they are able to make in 30 days is like mind-blowing. I can even get in the room with the right people.
I had a mentee win like a Shark Tank presentation for a grant of like where the money would go. And so she talked about nurse coaching and shot from the hip. And I got to coach her before and after. I've done several of my mentees, and it's like there's an element of sales that's happening. And because they've gone through our training, like they have some sales skills because you're selling an idea to decision makers.
Yeah.
And so I even feel like the fact that they did have private practices, that they were working on that when they were making that proposal, like it was good. It was really, really helpful in the way that they thought of it as like selling an idea. It's like, what's in it for the organization and what's in it for the CNO and what's in it for the CEO.
Yeah.
And speaking to that, that's super exciting. I also think that we'll have some more mainstream publications or larger amounts of eyes just on the specialty itself. Like I just have a sense that whether it be a more prominent podcast, I would love to be the person on it. I should think about that. I'd love to see us more in some more mainstream things, setting light and validity on the specialty itself and growing. So I sense that in 2025.
Yep. Yep. I feel like before when we were in the Successful Nurse Coaches only, that was our only hat. I didn't have to be, our niche was so small. We didn't have to be anywhere but the internet. Now this with Nurse Life Coach Academy, I feel like there's just like 1 million doors that just like flew open.
Yeah.
To be like and belly to belly in the nursing community and the leadership community and really advocating for like nursing as a specialty, as like a tiered process of not just like a one-time skill that you learn the first certification that you go to, but if you want the foundational skills and you want to build upon it, like we can flesh it out here. That would be really
totally. This is a prediction for private practice nurse coaches. I believe the mid-price offer will be the easiest and best approach if you're in your first 2 to 3 years of private practice. This is going to be the 2 to 6K offer. I think, and that's for one-on-one, that's for groups, that's kind of for anything. I just sense that that's going to be the style of offer and the one-to-many approach that many of you will do well with. There will always be exceptions to this, but I see a lot of people wanting to do memberships. I think memberships are not the way to go in 2025. I sense that post-election, regardless of the winner, people are going to want to get back to their lives and have some hope that something's going to get better because there is a beginning of something new. And I just sense that creating an offer you're so in love with that you feel like it's so overvalued in the 2 to 6 range is a really good plan out the gate. And we can help with that. If you're our client, we can help you design that and talk about that. We'll certainly be talking about that with our masters.
Yeah, totally. And I think probably all of our masters are really close to that 2 to 6 range, if not already.
All of them. Yeah.
And I think that they're coaches that really believe in their offer have no trouble selling it. So
right.
I agree. Also to another like drop in the ocean to add to the membership thing. I have a lot of people who toy with this a lot, and unless you have an audience of 5, 10,000 people, 15,000 people, memberships like don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because they have to be priced so low and you're going to have to sell so many of them. And I hear from nurse coaches all the time, if I only want to work with people who are ready to do the work. And usually the consciousness of folks who are willing to invest in a membership are high maintenance. They're not like in the spirit of all in. They're here to be a fly on the wall and like learn, they're a lot of work. Back end. So just something to consider. It is simpler to sell a one-on-one package to one person rather than a $20 membership to 1,000 people.
Yeah, absolutely. This is yours, Shelby. You want to talk about this next one?
Yeah. So I think that in 2020 to 2022, people had more disposable income, even despite the pandemic, thanks to government stimulus. And that led to, I mean, we experienced like a 3 to 4 month wait list for $1,000 program in our own business too, to where, there was no money resistance. People would listen to our podcast. They would be in residence or they wouldn't, and they would show up to the call like ready to buy. And, I mean, I genuinely didn't have to sell often or like, people were just ready. They had the resources, they had the time as well. Everybody was home. If there was like
Yeah.
ever a time to go in and like do a thing on your vision, on your dream, that was the season. And, now I remember trying to sell coaching this summer and everybody just wanted to like go live their life. And I don't have any resentment towards that. We've all been in a bubble for several years and they're like, no, I'm going on my family vacation. I don't want to worry about anything. I will come back and I will start this in the fall. And like, again, I think that's just like riding the waves with the social norms. No problems there. However, I have noticed in a lot of our mentees calls, we've been spending quite a bit of time on like proposal technique and how to sell and how to create urgency and how to create relevancy and how to do all of this so that people go from like, I'm interested in coaching to I will invest in a high ticket investment in myself. And I coached someone for a while who did like 7, 8, 9 proposals and got no's all in a row. And she was telling me, like, I'm doing mostly all the things that you tell us to do in the course. I'm like hitting it at like 95%, but I'm still getting
Right.
I was like, well, then do it at 100%. Like follow all the way through on the process here. And then she started getting yeses, right? Of like,
Yeah.
going the extra 2%. And here's the deal. You don't know what that extra 2% is unless you've taken our course or you know our method or you've literally had me evaluate your proposals. Like there's a sales skill that we teach within our program to sell those mid-range offers super well, and it works if you do it. And this all to be said, I think that those nurse coaches in private practice in general are going to have to get like dialed in on their sales skills because selling is just different now. People have less resources. It's more of a walking them through start to finish on the sales process.
I agree. I totally agree. I think this is important every year, but I agree that let's make it extra important in 2025. I think that's totally true and relevant. Another prediction is for our own company. I believe we will graduate at least 300 nurse coaches, but hope to graduate 600 in 2025. And that makes me super excited for a lot of reasons, because I think we could be part of the big push to get this to be more well-known, to open up more doors. And that makes me really, really excited to help with that.
Yeah. Kind of wild to think. It's like, I don't know what this word is towards like, that is wild, but also 100% within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a word for that. Just like both ends of the spectrum here. Yeah. And there's almost no way to have this kind of perspective unless you've been nurse coaching for, I don't know, more than 4 years, of how small our little bubble of nurse coaches really is. I know that it feels big. I know that every time you log onto Facebook and you're scrolling through, it feels like everyone you know is a nurse coach, but like there's a couple thousand of us, and that is so many more than when you and I started. A few hundred of us back in the day.
Yes.
And I believe in a world where more nurses or they don't have to be private practice nurse coaches, but are at least nurse coach trained. Like we can really start to make a dent from the ground up in like the way healthcare works. If people have just like a different set of goggles on and they're better equipped and they can have better conversations and like all of this stuff I was actually talking to my doctor about this, the one that took out my gallbladder this year.
Yeah.
I was telling him about what I do. And I barely got the words out of my mouth of like, I help nurses through the Nurse Life Coach Academy, like learn better. We'll learn how to become life coaches, of course, but like through that training, it also upgrades their bedside experience and helps prevent burnout and like increases emotional intelligence. And he like stopped me and he was like, every board meeting that I have been in for the past 20 years, I am constantly telling the hospital administration to take better care of the nurses. Like, that is who is delivering on all of our protocols, on all of our care, who's belly to belly with patients. And he's like, it is a shame on how much we do not care for our nurses. And he goes, so if it's not coming from the top down in the support of admin, he's like, if you can equip from the bottom up to where people powder in a more effective way, he was like, watch out. Like, that's the only way that it's going to happen. He's like, doctors advocate. He's like, it may not feel this way, but I know many doctors, personal friends that advocate for nurses regularly, pay them more, do more staff, all the things. And they simply won't. And I mean, there's so many things wrong with that, but we can continue to remain in this dynamic, or nurses can learn better soft skills and have higher emotional intelligence and be able to have better conversations, because no one's coming to save us. It has to be us.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And hopefully even organizations paying for their nurses to go through, realizing that if you certified 100 of your RNs in Nurse Life Coach Academy, that just the results of that from a consciousness perspective, from an emotional intelligence perspective, from a mental health perspective would be immense. Like, the cost of certifying that many, you would save it in so many, probably better patient outcomes, less legal problems, less, like, there would be so much and I just want to know, like, how much that would change, because we have leaders in our certification now who are on fire. Like, we get the most on fire messages. They're referring people to us left and right. And so I'd love even just every nurse leader in our country to at least go through nurse coach training.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine most nurse coaches are like, I know some nurses listen to our podcast, but most of you guys are nurse coaches. Imagine if you went through just basic nurse coaching certification as a new grad, just like that was part of your nursing residency. And it was, the part where they like sit you down and they tell you about burnout, but like then actually give you real tools to be able to navigate it, or to advocate for yourself, or how to like speak a boundary whenever people call you for overtime for the millionth time, like whatever. To have these conversations early. I have been a patient in a bed more times than I can count in the past 5 years. And I mean, you can absolutely tell which nurse walks through the door and has the capacity to care for you from a meaningful place, and which one is just there hanging on by a thread. And I hurt for those nurses. I was that nurse. And I'm like, God, if someone, it's like they just so desperately need a drink of water and they're just walking around in the desert. It's so painful to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I was also thinking about like when you have nurse coaches on staff that are actively training staff, that the shift or the patient or the incident that happens at whatever point it happens for you, that is incredibly difficult, that has you questioning your own confidence, that has you feeling like an outsider with your coworkers, like whatever that stressor is that's affecting you at home. If you had someone that you trusted, that you could have a confidential conversation with, that you knew understood and could support you, that's huge. That is so huge. It's just better than, what is it? Like, what is that free service that you get? Like employee EE something, or
employee assistance.
Yes. That, whatever that thing is. It's like, I've heard, we've had lots of clients who use them because you get free counseling or free therapy. And it's like, not the same.
Right.
It's not the same. It just isn't as effective, if effective at all.
Yeah. And I think too, from even like a psychological standpoint, right, of like why the pairing of a nurse to nurse works so much better.
Yeah.
I think it's Gabor Mate that talks about how, like, we just want to be seen and heard. Like, that is really it. And being seen and heard by someone who gets it, who
can see, can hear,
who can see and who can hear. Yes. And then like who understands the intense pressure and dynamics of what it means to be a nurse. Like that is, you can't swap that out. Like you can't, that's replaceable with anything else. And I just think back to like little Shelby of like, there were a few nurses that like took me under their wing, and that's probably why I stayed bedside for as long as I could, like that's because they were showing me a little bit of extra love and attention. But I remember going to my manager in the ER. There had been a patient death that, like, to be honest, still like brings tears to my eyes. And I went to her and I was like, I'm having a hard time here. No one else seems to be like they're having a hard time, but I'm having a hard time with this one. And she was very empathetic for me, but she didn't have anywhere to point me. She like was like, you can talk to the chaplain or maybe a counselor. And I was like, and this advice kind of like falls flat to me, you know, like
Yeah.
if she would have asked me like 2 or 3 more questions, maybe that would have been enough in that moment.
Right.
But it just, she didn't know what she didn't know. And I don't hold her accountable for that. But it took so much energy and effort to even get the balls to go into her office because I was feeling
Uh,
shamed and guilty and like, why is this bugging me and not anybody else? Like so much mental gymnastics it took for me to sit in that chair. And had we
I love that we're speaking this into existence right now. I think we're seeing it materialize, but my brain, my hustler brain, my conscious creator brain is like, yes, please, let's speed it up. Let's create some pathways. Let's get this rolling. Let's get these bedside nurses some relief in a way, because such a little goes such a long way. I also think that, and this isn't just a 2025 prediction, but we've been researching coaching in general and self-development in that industry. So like more people are listening to podcasts and are
yeah.
aware of self-development now than 5 years ago.
Mhm.
There is like more mainstream awareness of like emotional intelligence and some like other things that are becoming
styles.
yes,
Boundaries.
boundaries, right? Like that people are aware of,
Yeah.
and right. And so that's good for multiple reasons. It's good because it makes nurse coaching get more in style, like it's more trendy, and it makes us more relevant. Like the service that we provide is just more relevant. So if that trend continues, like what if in by 2030, it's like America is like most people, 50% of Americans work with a life coach or work with a nurse coach. It's like you'd be one with, if you started now, you'd have be like in a really experienced one. And that's when at that point, all the different certification companies are going to pop up. Like it starts to get, and then you kind of miss the boat. I sense we're still early, but we're early right at the inflection point, right at the exponential point. Like there's a 2025 is like where the line from bottom left to top right starts to get more exponential and go up in a curve. And that's exciting.
Yeah. Imagine going through nurse coaching certification and then you go to your manager and you're like, hey, I got this cert. And they're like, oh my God, didn't you know that we pay you for that? Totally awesome. And
Yeah.
the position that just opened up over here, like
Yeah.
that would be so luxe. That would be great.
It's happening.
Yeah, it would. I can't. Whenever I talk to other healthcare providers and they ask what I do, I'm always like, I'm a nurse coach. And it's like 70% have never heard it, but 30% have. I ride that high for like 4 days.
Yeah.
Happening. It really is. It really is happening. And I think it can't just be like me and Laura's dream and vision, right? Like it's going to take a lot of people coming together on a very similar dream and vision to make that happen because
Yeah.
we can fulfill the need of certification. We're very qualified to do that. But all of you listening are qualified in so many different ways that,
Oh, yeah.
like so you're more empowered, you're more connected. We ran a Facebook challenge the other day to get people or to ask our community to invite people into our Facebook group. And someone invited 600 nurses. I was like,
Yeah.
how do you know 600 people?
Yeah.
What are you talking about right now? 600 nurses, no less. And she goes, they're all previous students of mine. Like she was a professor at a college. And there are just so many more ways that our community is so deeply resourced here to really
We are not.
to really have a force for good. Man, that activates my hero complex in a really deep way, but I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. My gosh, as you were saying that, I'm just like, wow, like we just need empowered, certified nurse coaches that enjoyed the entire process to go out and just start spreading it like wildfire. And it makes me happy that it's going to be easier for you guys than it was for the people who came before you, because that's what our role was just to like start wearing the path So it's like, at least it's visible. Like before it was just like a cornfield. We're like, I don't know, we can start here.
Yeah.
Just like figure it out. It was like there was nothing. And now there's like a kind of a worn path. And some of you might even create your own paths, but it's people have made it out to the other side of the cornfield. And so it's just happening faster. And that's really exciting for you guys, for us. And I'm excited for my family and myself when we're a patient laying in a hospital bed, that there'll be a higher percentage of nurses there that can hear us and can see us and can care for us, because it just doesn't take much.
No, it's so easy.
It's so in it like, oh, me. And when you're that vulnerable as a patient, I'm going to tell one good nursing story really quick. Had my my first EJ in the hospital, unplanned C-section. Yeah, kind of a planned C-section, but unplanned timing. He had to go to the NICU. He has super low APGAR score. So I shook for 2.5 hours after my C-section. Like I was just reacting to the medication and the hormones, and it was not a good day. And I started nursing him, and I think I was still numb when I was nursing him, but by like day 3, my nipples were bloody. Like it was painful. And I had a night nurse come in who's taking care of me and said, every time you go to feed EJ, you have to call me. I'm going to come in here the whole night, and I'm going to help him latch, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, because you're not going to make it, mama, if you do it this way. And she like my husband and me and her are all staring at my boob, my nipple, and this baby's mouth. And we're like learning how to do this.
Yeah.
2 a.m, 4 a.m, 6 a.m. And she came in 100% focused on me. I'll never forget her. Like she's so special. Like whatever she has, we need to spread. And I think what she probably had was boundaries, emotional intelligence, some level of mental health, right? Like she had capacity to be that. Yeah. I wish I knew her name and I could find her.
Yeah.
Gosh.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
So
She
sweet.
was awesome. She made such a difference. Like,
that's
huge difference.
Yeah. And God, I know that you and I were good bedside nurses in the ICU.
Yeah.
Like even on my most burned out day, I
pulled it together.
Yeah, I could fake it with the best of them, even if it was killing me inside. And I had many, many patients tell me, like, you found your calling. You're so good at this. And on the inside, I'm like, I hear you. I'm good at this, but like, I don't know. I don't know if I believe you or not. And the level of vulnerability you feel as a new mom or a patient or post-op or whatever, you are completely at the mercy of whoever walks in that door. Like they are a part of your story forever.
Yes.
So even if you can't remember her name, you remember everything that she did for you. And I have like 10 of these stories, both good and negative. But like when I can tap into that of like, that ripple effect is significant where people walk out of giving birth or having surgery or getting a tumor removed or whatever. And the story that was scary as hell, but my nurse like was so good to me. Like, oh, I could just cry about that.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Well, and the goal is for you to be that nurse, but also to get home and have a meaningful, healthy life and be that for other people, not be that at the cost of your own physical health, mental health, financial health. Like, right. Like there's like a more holistic version of it so that you win, patient wins, and your organization wins. And I think that's like pretty corny to say that nurse coaching could be the thing. But what else could be the thing? Can you think of anything else besides nurse coaching that could be that thing? I don't know of any other thing. Like I can't figure out another way to solve that because more money won't solve it. Like
won't even solve that.
No.
Because everyone's
more degrees doesn't solve it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like that big of a deal.
Yeah.
That makes me excited. That makes me so excited. I hope you guys are getting excited listening to Shelby and I here. And any of the predictions that you want to think of like from a business perspective in general?
Yeah. I think, we're pretty tapped in right now to the Nurse Life Coach Academy, like ecosystem over there. So we can access that excitement pretty easily about the potential in the future and get juiced up. But to be honest, team, my most favorite work is still getting to help our new nurse
New
coaches in
grad.
private practice. I know that private practice is not for everybody. I can absolutely respect that. But for those of you that it is for, like, getting to express yourself and explore your authentic life, whatever it means in this capacity, still am so excited about that. And I think that as we are upgrading or helping upgrade the systems and the policies and the nurses over here on the other one side, it feed each other somehow to where, like, if more patients can get introduced to what a nurse coach is in the hospital, that does you a million favors out in the real world as a private practice nurse coach. Like, that it doesn't, I know a lot of our communities like hybrids where they're part-time coaching, part-time bedside nursing.
Yeah.
This does not feel like a conflict at all, because when the more awareness we have around it, just like the better for everybody. And for those of you who, want to, like, work with chronic illness or with moms or with whatever, if, like, we have this touch point in the hospital and your nurse coach friend gets to talk to to them as a patient and, like, plant the seed, and then whenever they're out in the real world and they're struggling with their hormones or perimenopause or whatever the thing may be, nurse coach is on their radar to Google. Like, I really
Yes.
think that it elevates the whole industry, no matter, like, what path you take for it.
Yeah. Ooh, yes. And last big prediction here, so cool, is that holistic health is being talked about in the mainstream in a way that has never happened before. Even just in the last few weeks, the government came out and said they're going to pull fluoride out of all water. Like, that is unheard of. I was prescribed fluoride pills for my infant's water from my pediatrician 8 years ago. Like, if you're crunchy at all, semi-crunchy, you're holistic curious, nurse coaching is holistic. So holism, like holistic health, is becoming popular as a response to, quite frankly, the sick care system failing its patients in general in the United States. So that's probably the other trend that I'm sensing. It's like that bigger health trend is opening up so many doors of, like, alternative ways of doing things, reimagining what healthcare can and should look like, and reimagining what your healthcare career as an RN can look like. That it is not, it's simply having to change floors or change specialties or going and getting your master's or your PhD or becoming a teacher. Like, there's other ways to, like, utilize all your experience, all the money, all the student loans, all the blood, sweat, and tears, and build upon that, not having to throw it all away and do something totally different. Yeah.
It's pretty rad.
Pretty rad.
Pretty rad. Yeah, there's a conversation I had with my dad the other day around something crunchy. I can't exactly remember what it was, but he's like, I listened to this podcast the other day. They said the things that you've been saying for years. Because a man said it, Dad, you were able to hear him? Like, I was so fired up. I was like, yes. So I think that we're going to be experiencing a lot of those moments to where, like, if you have felt like the black sheep or the outsider or the friend, where people are going to be like, oh my God, Laura's been talking about this for a decade.
Yeah.
Just the more access to resources and information, and, like, it's just never been easier to get your hands on, like, accurate information. So
it'll be 2025 will be the year of all health conspiracies coming true. My dad just recently got red pilled with the food industry, and he's like, do you know that they put weird food dyes in our cereal, but they don't put the weird stuff in other countries? And I'm like, I do. Yeah, I do.
Yes.
That's why I think you should buy organic and non-GMO, Dad. That's what I've been talking about for decades.
It's so funny to watch people pick up the thread for the first time, and they're like, what? And you're like, pull in. I can't pull it for you. Just pull in.
Addie brought home this fundraiser for school, and they're selling, like, this butter bread, like these bread loaves for $18 and with, like, sugary stuff inside. And I told her, I was like, yeah, we're just not going to participate in that. Like, we're just not going to do it. She's like, but we want to get new playground equipment, Mom. And I was like, well, then we'll either figure out another way to raise it or we will donate it. But we are not going to contribute to kids and families getting diabetes.
Yeah.
Yeah, mom, it's totally diabetes bread, isn't it? I was like, it is diabetes bread. That is what that is.
I
It's
know.
diabetes bread, and that would fundraising in our schools.
I would rather just give you $20 and
Yes.
don't give me diabetes bread or diabetes, like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Agreed.
Right. Addie could go door to door and be like, do you want to spend $20 on diabetes bread or do you just want to donate? Like, what's better for your family? Anyway.
Any tactic right there. Sales stick.
Yes. All right. We should probably keep it short today. Yeah. Are we feeling?
This one is probably still close to an hour, so we're good.
Ow. Here we go.
Two long ones back to back. But thanks for listening, team. I hope this was fun. Whenever we record episodes like this, I kind of imagine all of you sitting at the table with us as we get to talk like
Yeah.
a little bit more casually. So let us know what you think. If you have any predictions you want to put on the table and we can all hold them together,
Yeah.
that would be really cool. I'm looking to paint my wall in my office. I have all of our names of all of our clients we've ever served on my wall in my office. And I love it. And I'm also kind of looking to like zhuzh up my office a little bit and I want to paint it and I need to write something new. So if we want to like have a big old vision board that Shelby looks at every day, I would be super happy to post that.
Awesome. All right. Send your nurse coach visions to Shelby. She will place it on her vision wall.
Yeah.
And she will assist you in creating it.
All right. We'll see you next year. Thanks for being here.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.